Hello YouTube, sorry the quality of this is really shocking, but it is 3:50 in the morning on a Sunday night and I just had the compulsion to make a video about my endometriosis. So if you are not interested in listening about the history of a girl's endometriosis and how she was ignored by doctors for years, the implications of endometriosis, what it is, how it works, how it sucks, how I think it's equivalent to cancer except it doesn't kill you, then don't watch this. If you do think you might have endometriosis, this might be a good thing to see because you might save yourself some of the hardships that I went through in finding out that I had endo. And also, it might just be really interesting and hopefully turn you into a little bit more of a badass because you need to be a strong woman to deal with endo. So, let's get into it. I guess I'm going to start with the history of my endo. So, from the beginning, as in like from the beginning of time, when the first drop of blood hit. Yeah, no, that's gross. Um, when I was young and I first got my period, I used to have really painful periods, and the doctors would just say that this was normal. It's because I was new to having a period. Apparently, my Instagram feed is covered in period pain is not normal, and now I know that period pain should not be that bad. So they prescribed me Ponstan, which is a specific, not specific type of medication that's anti-inflammatory. It works for period pain. Actually, I just got back on it after I don't know 10 years or something. Ponstan, yeah. Except when I used to have it, it was in a tub. Now they've moved it to capsules. I don't know. Global warming. They just can't help it. Putting stuff in landfill. So I was on Ponstan and I had bad periods, but I just thought, I was a young teenager, it'll be okay. At 15, I went to China, and because of the culture change, the diet change, everything, I can't remember if I had my period continuously for 3 months or if I didn't have it for 3 months. But when I came back over Christmas to Australia, they put me on the mini pill because my period was irregular. I think I hadn't had it. I think I hadn't had my period. So I started the pill at 15, which is not really great because it affects your hormones and it changes the way that your body thinks about its cycle. So how can it ever get a normal cycle when I was manipulating it from the beginning? First of all with pain meds and then with the pill, which is tricking you into thinking you're pregnant. So I was on the pill for quite a few years, and first year of university I found out because I have migraines with aura, which is where you lose your vision, everything spots out, it gets bright, and I can't see like half of people. So I will be staring straight at you and like half of your face is gone. And even when I move my head, it's just like, even if I move my eyes to the side of your face, then still the other half will be gone. It's really weird. Horrible, hate migraines. Also, hormonal problem. So because I have migraines with aura, they said if I stay on the pill, I've got like a 20% more chance of having a stroke. So I need to get off it. So I got off the pill and I got the Implanon, which is the little bar that they put in your arm. Now, this is sort of where the saga really began, first year of uni, because I single-handedly kept Tampax in business. Like, I probably bled 2 to 3 weeks of the month. It was horrible. I was tired all the time. I had iron deficiency, naturally. But they said, oh, it takes like 3 months or so for your body to adjust to it. So after 3 months, I went back. I was like, hey guys, I'm practically a Shark Tank. Can you do something? And they're like, oh no, let's give it some more time. We'll just see how it goes. Come back in 6 months. Like as in like the following 3 months time. Went back again. I was like, nah, it's still not working. They're like, well, we don't really like taking them out. You haven't been on that long. Why don't you just keep it in? Me, still being ignorant, this is what I'm trying to like let you guys avoid. Just tell them to get it damn out. If it's not working, it's not working. You should know within 6 months. After a year, I got it out, and then I had no contraception. I had no pill. I had no Implanon, and my body just went crazy. It didn't know, it had never sort of coped with my own hormones before. It had always been structured hormone regulation, and it just went wild. Um, as of the start of the year, I started vomiting regularly. Um, I would probably vomit 5 times a week, and anything would set me off. It was like morning sickness. I really attributed it to morning sickness. It was similar to how women who are pregnant are just sick all the time. Um, and it did often happen in the morning or when I ate. Um, I then started having like pains and cramps and stabbing pains in my like uterus area down like my lower pelvic region. I had problems with my bowels and urinating and all this random stuff and stabbing, spiking headaches that really hurt. But I just didn't know what was wrong with me. I just couldn't, I was just sick all the time. And then I get very confused with March and May and also the end of the year. By the end of the year, I don't know what's happening. I'm just like, when's Christmas? So please excuse me. I think it was May. April. It was April. Sorry. I'm not even going to edit this either. Stay tuned for more info. Um, so in April, I had my first cyst rupture, which is possibly one of the most painful experiences I've ever had. It was kind of like a hot iron dagger being plunged into my side and twisted over and over again. And I couldn't die from it because it was hot, so it cauterized the wound, but I really wanted to die from it because it hurt. Um, so that a cyst rupture is where um, usually you have, you ovulate and your little egg pops out and it goes and looks for a friend. Well, mine pops out, sticks around, swells up, and then explodes. So the reason why they thought it was a cyst rupture is because when they did the internal ultrasound, which hurts by the way, not all the time, not if there's nothing wrong, but if there's something wrong, then it kind of hurts. They saw like excess fluid, and that's probably because a cyst ruptured and therefore created excess fluid. So I went into hospital for that because I was just screaming my head off because it's like you've been shot and stabbed and plunged and burnt and exploded, and like small little grenades are going off inside of you all at the same time. So I went to the hospital with that. They gave me morphine, all the fun stuff, and then pretty much told me it was a cyst rupture and go home. So I was like, okay, well this is not good. I'm sick all the time, and now I've had an exploding cyst. I'll keep pestering my doctors, and they'll keep ignoring me. So I kept on going back to my doctors with all the strangest symptoms of different things because now I realize endometriosis has masses and masses of side effects. So I'd have sciatic pain, I'd have cramping, like which is pretty normal. I'd have stabbing pains in my head, which is apparently an estrogen spike. It literally feels like someone has put a shiv inside of your brain, and it doesn't matter if you're in Big W or on a date, you will go down in pain. You will just scream or cry, or you can't even maybe do those things. Sometimes you just stand there frozen and tears just stream down your face. Same thing happens with chest pains, which was really, really scary because I kept on having these chest pains. They did ECGs, they kept on testing me for everything. They said nothing's wrong, it's anxiety. I'm like, dude, I know what like hyperventilating feels like. It's every time I friggin' visit you guys. I know what like all of this anxiety stuff is. This is serious pain. Like these chest pains, if I was standing in front of the Queen of England, who I highly respect, I would not have been able to cover up the fact I was having one of these chest pains. And in fact, I even had one in a doctor's surgery once, and they just were like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, well, how can you have pain so bad that you're screaming in a public place. Like, people don't generally want to do that. And yet you say there's nothing wrong with me. And apparently it's to do with endometriosis. Then the vomiting, the nausea, loss of appetite. Sometimes people gain weight and like actually get really hungry, like pregnancy. But I just got stomach ulcers from all the vomiting, which was another great episode of the endo. Anyway, I kept on going back to my doctor with all these things, and he kept on saying pretty much I was a hypochondriac. And then in June, I had another cyst rupture. When they went in April, they saw another cyst that was getting too big, but they were like, oh, it's okay. Now, when I went in June, I was really tired of being told that there was nothing wrong with me. So I was like, right, I'm not leaving without answers. I went in, I had incredible pain. It was excruciating. Like, I can't even compare it to childbirth because I imagine it's a bit different to childbirth. It's more of an intense, sharp stabbing. But when I went in June, I remember it was even worse than the one before. And I just was beside myself, like for hours in pain. Even through the morphine, I could feel it through the morphine. People have car crashes and have morphine and they're like, I'm so happy, I love morphine. No, not me. I could still feel it. It was detached from it, but it hurt a lot. I could still feel it drawing. So I waited for like 3 days for the obstetrician and gynecologist. Yes, I got them both right. Sometimes I mix the words up. And when they came, I'd had swabs, bloods, all the rest. I'd had ultrasounds, I'd had internal ultrasounds. Everything had come back normal. And they said that there was nothing wrong with me. And they thought maybe it was pelvic inflammatory disease, but then when they did like a literal inspection, they said that if it was pelvic inflammatory disease, it would have hurt more. I thought maybe I've just got a really good pain tolerance because I've been through all this crap for over 6 months now. But anyway, they then told me that there was nothing they could do. And I remember I was on morphine, and I hate opioids. I just get so violently ill on them. It's just, I was begging to not have morphine, but I was in so much pain, I really needed something. And I was so nauseous, and I was so sick, and I was so tired. My eyes kept rolling back in my head, and I remember feeling so clear when they said that, because it was just the opposite of when someone first tells you they love you. I'd been waiting for days in hospital, and they were only making me worse with all the drugs, and then they said, there's nothing we can do. And I remember replying with, if you can't find out what's wrong with me, shouldn't that mean that I stay here and you work out what's wrong with me, not send me home? And they said, well, like we've said, really patronizing, nothing's going to kill you because all the tests have come back fine. So you kind of just got to go home. I then hyperventilated, actually. I didn't even care that they could see or hear. I was just so broken. And it really got worse from there on. Every time I had these cyst ruptures, I was in bed for 2 weeks, like proper rest bed for 2 weeks. And even on my birthday, which was about 2 weeks later, I went for a bike ride and had a really lovely time. It was my 21st birthday. And I'd started feeling my pains very badly. So I took Panadeine Forte or Tramadol or something not opioid level, but stronger than Panadol. And I I could hardly drive home. I didn't realise how quickly it would affect me. And I remember going, I gotta get home, I gotta get home. It's not far, it's like 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes, you can get there. And I had the window down in the middle of June in Canberra to try to keep myself alert. I had the music blasting and I just kept on, like, I was talking to God the whole time. I was like, right, I gotta get home, I gotta get home. I went home and I slept for 12 hours on my birthday. That is how I spent my 21st birthday. Bike ride, dead. So, oh, sorry, I had to readjust, my leg had gone dead. I then continued being sick all the time. I was tired. I had like the equivalent of chronic fatigue. I was at uni and I was studying, and I would be able to do about 20 minutes of study before needing to sleep for 20 minutes. It didn't matter how much I slept, I was constantly fatigued, and I couldn't cope. My mum actually came and started living with me because I couldn't cook or clean and study. It got to the point where I couldn't drive because I could potentially have the sharp ovarian pains in my pelvis, the sharp pains in my chest that would like cripple me. I couldn't breathe. Stabbing pains in my head, or just general too ill to drive. So my mum actually came and moved in with me, and I was a wreck. I really didn't do anything. I studied and I slept, and then I would watch TV. And even on Law Ball, which I had been waiting months and months to go to, and I'd press the refresh button like crazy to get a ticket because they sell out in less than a second. How amazing is that? I was in absolute chronic pain until 20 minutes into the ball. So I was 40 minutes late to the ball because as I was getting ready, I was screaming. But I was determined that Endo was not going to stop, or whatever it was, because I still didn't know what was wrong with me at this stage. It'd been like 8 months, and I still had no idea. I had my suspicions by this stage, but I was just like, I'm just sick, and I don't know what it is, and it can't be that bad, and I've just got to keep on living my life because this is ridiculous. So I went to Law Ball looking the most beautiful I think I have ever looked, and feeling ridiculously bad. I actually spent most of the ball in the toilets crying like Hermione Granger, but you know, other than that, I look great. Photos look really pretty. So it was 4 days before Christmas when I had my last rupture, and my landlords were in my house because they'd unexpectedly forgotten to tell me they were moving back in. Long story, different day. And I was going to collect some stuff, and I just went down like a house of cards. Is that the right expression? Deck of cards? I have to Google it later. Somebody leave it in the comments. And it was different this time. It wasn't like in the side, like both times it had been in my right side, like where your hip bone goes around. Like if you hold somebody, it's like in this squishy bit. But this time it was everywhere, and it was on fire too. It was really not like burning fire, like hot poker fire. And I remember screaming. I'm not sure if anybody's experienced this, but when you scream and you're trying to be quiet at the same time, it comes out like a hoarse, like that. I remember screaming, I feel like my clit has been cut off, in front of the 60-year-old landlords who had no idea what the hell was going on and were running around going, we gotta call an ambulance. And that was absolutely sublime. It came in waves, so similar to labor, it comes on and it gets really, really bad, and like on a scale of 1 to 10, you're like, you don't have a scale for my pain. Let's go off that chart. That's where I'm at. And then it goes back to probably about a 6, maybe 5. Like you can walk. That's about it though. And then it goes back up again like quickly after. So it's like enough time that you can like run from the bedroom to the car before you have another episode. And I went into the hospital, and because I'd presented there before and I'd had all these bloody checks for all this stuff that had come back negative, they're like, right, we think we might have endometriosis. And we're now going to tell you everything we can possibly tell you so that you don't go in for surgery. So the only way to diagnose endometriosis is to have a laparoscopy. While they're in, if they do find endometrium cells, they generally burn them off. But they're like, you're young. We don't really like cutting into young people because, there's risk of infection and you've got recovery time and pretty much it costs us money and we don't want to do it for you. But I'd been under before when I had my appendix out, and it was really scary because when I woke up, I had the full accordion. I really didn't want to go for surgery. Um, it was a big scary thing for me, especially with my response to drugs and knowing that I'd be on morphine again or on endo and stuff like that. But I was at the stage where I thought, look, I really need to know what is wrong with me, and I need to know for sure because I need to start taking steps to fix this. So I was like, right, cut me open, I don't care. So they did. I got out the day before Boxing Day. I ate the smallest Christmas dinner ever because my tummy hurt. I ripped some of my stitches vomiting, which is a shame. So I've got these lovely little scars on my belly, and then one that's like a little bit fatter because after Christmas dinner I didn't respond very well to it, and so I ripped my stitch throwing up. I kind of like my scars though; they're a bit cute. And yeah, I found out that I had endo. They went in and they found adhesions all through my insides. But it doesn't actually matter if you have lots or if you have little. It doesn't make a difference to what your responses are. So you can have all the symptoms and only have like 6 bits, or you can have no symptoms, think you're fine, and be like covered in endometriosis. Blah. But they did go in, they found some stuff and they burnt some stuff off. They couldn't take the parts off my bladder though, because then they'd burn a hole in my bladder. And as you can imagine, it's kind of like poking a hole in a balloon. You don't really want to do that. Whee! Ha! That was funny. And I then sort of just started. Oh, I got the marina in. While I had that surgery, they put the marina in as a contraceptive device because they realized I needed to be on some contraception. The reason why I was going crazy because nothing was, keeping me together. So they put the marina in. They said, wait 3 months or so, see how it goes. And after about 3 months, I recovered from the surgery and stuff. I was still having a lot of pain. My periods were better, but my ovulation wasn't. So when I had my periods, I still felt like someone had a spatula. When you got cake mix in a bowl and you scrape out the cake mix and you want every last inch of it? That is what my period felt like. It was like somebody was scraping out the inside of my uterus. And it was just, it ached and it hurt and it cringed. And it just felt like I was literally being taken out. The soul of me was being ripped out through my vagina. And you felt you actually felt violated because the pain was so real and in such a vulnerable area that the constant reminder that there was this like weakness inside of you where you're meant to be growing humans, it's like got this weird psychological effect that just really messes you up. Oh, not to mention, forgot to say that because they told me I was crazy for so long and I was so sick all the time, I actually was under suicide watch for 3 months before I went in for my surgery for endometriosis. So it can kill you, motherfuckers. Can kill you, you horrible doctors. Because it's bad, guys. Like, it is cancer level bad. Not everybody has it really bad, but the people who do have it really bad, they're not really taken very seriously, and you kind of get beside yourself. As well, your hormones are crazy. My emotions were wrecked. I was crying all the time. I was sad. I was anxious. And then one day I just said to my mum, you got to take me to the hospital. And she's like, why? I'm not in pain. And I was like, I know. but I don't think I can do this for another second. And she didn't actually understand what I meant. And saying that I was ready to kill myself was probably one of the hardest things to verbalize that I've ever experienced. It's not something that's easy to say, because when you put words to it, you give it power. And I didn't want to give it power because I knew I didn't want to. I just didn't know what to do anymore. I was low all the time. I was tired. I wasn't living the life. I was in bed all the time. And if I wasn't in bed, I was in pain. I'd probably have 3-4 good hours a day, and not even every day. And then all these emotions on top of that come from the hormones. Like, I was practically a pregnant woman. So that happened before my surgery, which is probably something that really pushed me to have it as well, because I just really needed to know. Sorry, I forgot that, guys. I would edit it, but I'd never be able to cut it to match my train of thought, so you're just gonna have to deal with it like this. Hope you like my stupid humor. So yeah, I got the marina in. It was about 3 months of still pain, and then I went to the gynecologist that I'd been waiting 9 months to see. It wasn't actually the real gynecologist, it was his assistant. He had the wrong file for a different patient. And then when I told him what was wrong with me and I gave him my actual file, because I stage walked around with the thing everywhere, and I actually told him what to do. I said, look, I don't care if the pill kills me. From what I've read, it's the only thing that can combat the fact that I'm getting my ovulation and my ovulation pains, and I want to go back on the pill. And he's like, you could die. And I was like, I'll die anyway. And so he put me on Yaz, which is like a low form of the pill. And I've been on that with the marina now for 2 years. It was pretty good. It took about another 3 months to sort of really kick in. And then during those 3 months, I ended up with a stomach ulcer, which is a whole new type of pain. I've never actually screamed for attention in a hospital like a pregnant woman going, get me drugs, like I did when I had a stomach ulcer. So that was from all the vomiting. So more side effects. I really was a hypochondriac, because everything affects everything. And other than that, though, they got better. It was slow. It actually probably took 6 to 8 months to get to a point where I was like, this is all under control. I don't have pains in my period. I don't have pains when I have my ovulation anymore. And I actually started working, which was so amazing. I felt so blessed just to have a job, because you can't have a job when you're in bed all the time and asleep. I mean, I couldn't even study. I had to postpone my studies and everything. So I started working, and all of that was really good for probably a year and a half. And then in the past 3 months, I've noticed it's getting bad again. And that's why I am doing this video, because I want to start a series for you guys, telling you how I am going to take this journey to get myself better, because I thought I was going to be okay. It's been 2 years. I was like, great, this is going really well. I'll worry about the rest when I try to get pregnant. But now I realize I'm going to have to go off the pill, because I really am very likely to have a stroke and die, or worse, become a vegetable. So I'm going to have to fix that. But also, I want to get better, and I don't want to have this thing anymore that holds me back from life, because even though I've noticed it's been getting a bit worse, I thought, maybe it's just I haven't had my period in a while, so my body's got the shits with me, needs to release. But last Tuesday, I had a pap smear where the lady did an internal inspection, and she caused me so much pain that she actually recommended that I went for a special endometriosis ultrasound. Guys, don't get a normal ultrasound. Pay $70 or whatever it is. Get an endometriosis ultrasound. They do different things and they get better results. So I had lots of ultrasounds before I had my surgery. None of them come back with anything other than a bit of fluid. It's really hard to diagnose endo without having a laparoscopy, but at least an endometriosis ultrasound will give you your best bet as to finding if you've got it without going in for surgery. Like, I'm now contemplating surgery again, and I'm like, what if I don't actually have it? I've got the symptoms and nothing to burn off. So, doing that on Tuesday, because of last Tuesday. So, she told me I really had to get off the pill now. So naturally, I came home and cried for 3 hours because it's the only thing that's been keeping me going, and I love my job, and I don't want to stop doing all the things that I do because I'm sick again. And I think the scariest thing for people who've been really chronically ill is the thought of getting chronically ill again and facing that or facing death. That's a really shitty choice. So Wednesday, I think she sort of exacerbated the issue by like doing the internal. I had been getting worse, definitely, but Wednesday was bad. I had really chronic nausea, really, really chronic. Mood was seriously low. Like, usually I bounce back from bad news, but I did not bounce back. I was like legitimately movie depressed, like ice cream in bed type of not cool. And I had chest pains. And I'd been having a few more chest pains throughout the week. I had some on Tuesday as well. Had some the week before, but they weren't too bad. But Wednesday afternoon, I had a serious chest pain again, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's back." Thursday though, I thought, "Oh, I'm feeling much better. I'll go to work." I was a couple of hours in, and I had a very unusual experience. So I'd had cyst ruptures in the past, but I don't think that's what it was. I felt it in my bowels. Actually, if you excuse my language, I felt like I was being sodomized. If you don't know what that is, Google it because I'm not explaining it. And I had pain throughout my entire uterus, and I spent an hour and 15 minutes in the change room of my work screaming and crying and vomiting into a bucket because the paramedics, I was stupid and I told the paramedics what was wrong with me, and I said I had endo. So naturally they didn't come, and they took other calls. So my boss then called them again and was like, "No, dude, you need to get here now. She's begging to die." I really like my life. I mean, I may have had the episode where I was really worried about my life, but I do actively want to be here. And all I wanted on Thursday night was to pass out. I would have just done anything to pass out. And I did. I took Endone, which I hate, and I'm still recovering from, which is why now it is 4:24 in the morning, because I'm having these horrible side effects coming off them. It's, bleh, I hate drugs. I don't know how people do them recreationally. Sorry if you like do that, but like me, useless. I just need to look at them and I get high. And I went into hospital. They gave me Endone. They injected me lots with anti-nausea that didn't work. Then they took my cannulas out and tried to get me to go home because my bloods came back normal, because it's bloods, like, I'm not dying. They didn't explain anything to me and I was off my tree. It was probably the worst hospital experience I've had so far. My eyes are rolling back in my head and I think they gave me too much because I've been sick before, and I know it is one of the worst types of sick that you can possibly be. It's like being on a boat, getting thrown around in the ocean, and nobody will let you off. But this was different. I was way too doped out, and I was like passing out during conversation, and I don't think that's meant to happen. And they kept on taking my cannula out, trying to send me home. Then I'd vomit and be violently ill and be unable to stand up. So then they put another cannula in. So now I look like a meth head. I've got all these friggin' holes in me. My arms are so sore from all the anti-nausea injections they gave me because they kept on trying to get me up. So that was the weekend. I got out Friday afternoon. It's now Sunday night. Saturday I spent freaking out that I was going like mental because I think there was withdrawals or side effects or something from the endo. I felt like I was out of my body and I was tripping, and it was not cool. I went and literally laid in the grass like a hippie, trying to center myself to the earth because I felt like I was so much out of my body. I was jittery, anxious, restless, couldn't I could breathe, but it wasn't like it was my breath. My limbs did not feel like my limbs at all. And I'm sort of just getting better now. And it's Sunday, so hopefully it's good tomorrow because it's one of the most unpleasant experiences, I think, of my life, along with, you know, endo in general. But I guess it is an endo thing because it's a side effect, as in like a repercussion side effect. Anyway, that wraps you up. Sorry it was so long, but I just thought I'd give everyone a bit of backstory as to what my endometriosis story has been, so that when I talk about what's happening with me from now on, with my hopes to change my diet and my state of mind, and maybe even heal myself, do some hippie stuff. I'm going to a naturopath on Tuesday as well. Gynecologist, I'm getting private health insurance. I am not going to have this in a year's time. I want children, and they say there's no cure, but I'm going to make a cure. I'm going to cure myself. I really, really just hope that it involves eating the occasional ice cream, because I don't want to be one of those people who only ever eats healthy stuff, because that's just not a way to live. But I hope you enjoyed this. If it has been anything like your own story, please comment, leave me a message. I'd love to know what's happening to you. It's a scary thing, endometriosis, and I wish that there becomes a stage in my life where you can mention it to somebody and they know what it is, and they don't just know what it is, but they treat it like how people treat cancer. Because even though not everybody has it badly, some people, when they're like, oh, I got a cancer cut out my skin, you're like, oh, yeah, cool, how are you? That's okay, but I want to be able to say I have endometriosis, and they know that that means I can't work. Sometimes it means I go crazy because my hormones are different. It means that I don't have quality of life, and it means that my health is not good, and it's scary, and I don't want sympathy. I want knowledge. Because even employees, like when I was writhing on the back of the floor, as wonderfully supportive as my boss was, he was saying, "What's endo?" And I just think it will be a much better place for everybody, including people who have it, because maybe we'll get a cure, if it was spoken about more and if it was more known, and also the seriousness of it to be known. So if you do have endo or think you might have endo, speak up about it, make a noise, make a racket, burn your bras, because that's the way we got the vote. So that's the way we're going to get a cure for this. And I really, really want to start pushing for that, because I thought that handling the symptoms would be enough, but now I realize it's not. I don't want to handle the symptoms anymore. I want to just get better. So send me a message. Let me know your story, how you're going, if you like this, if I talk too much. It was definitely too long, don't worry, the other ones will not be this long. But I just wanted to give you all the details, because that's what endo is. Very detailed. And complex, just like women. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Give me a thumbs up. Bye.